What's up, guys? CryptoSavy here. Welcome to the channel where you subscribe to get daily updates on Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at the charts today. We have closed the CME gap at 11,795 area. We're going to take a look at that, see where we could go from here. Definitely stick around. Should be a good video. And don't forget to check out the free Discord. There's a link below in the description. It's an awesome community, somewhere to hang out if you want to talk about, learn about crypto, and let's get into it. All right, guys, as always, this is not financial advice, trading advice, nor is it investment advice. Always do your own due diligence and own research before investing or trading in any market. I want to remind you guys, we are doing a Kobo Vault Generation 2 hard wallet giveaway. Not your keys, not your crypto. If you guys want to enter to win that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Smash that like button, hit that thumbs up, and leave your comment down below. On Sunday's video, we'll be picking a random comment from a random video throughout the week to pick the winner, and let's get into it. Let's take a look at the news headlines, and then we'll go into talking about the gap. Young investors have flooded into Bitcoin during the pandemic, while the older generation can't get enough gold. Bitcoin delirium makes a reappearance while risk assets surge. Sorry, guys, it's early. U.S. Congressman, the disease that shall not be named crisis will make Bitcoin more important and stronger. Bitfinex offers 400 million reward for the return of 1.3 billion stolen in Bitcoin. Why Ukraine is ripe for cryptocurrency adoption. I want to buy all Bitcoins, Portnoy says. Square's big Bitcoin hauls are good for Square, but better for Bitcoin. Bitcoin news, accused Twitter hackers first court appearance, Zoom bombed by Bitcoin pranksters. All right, so the news obviously is pretty bullish. Sentiment is obviously pretty bullish. We are in extreme greed again at 79. We raised 4 points from yesterday. And let's talk about the gap a little. If you guys have been subscribed to the channel and watch my channel, you know back in here, I did not like the gaps. I still don't like the gaps. And I've talked about, back then I was talking about one time one of these gaps will not fill. It's going to leave everyone behind. Could that be what's happening now? It's definitely possible. But the past tells us that these gaps fill. We're going to take a look at it. We finally filled this gap yesterday at the 11,795. We got up to... let's see where we got on the CME. We got to 12,000 on the CME. Is that it? Do we come down and close this next gap? And the next gap is at about 96.70. So it looks like we're most likely going to head down and fill this gap if the gaps must fill, which, like I said, past tells us they fill. Now, that doesn't mean we can't go up more, and we'll take a look at the targets. We'll go into the smaller time frames, but I do believe volatility is back. It's a great time to be trading Bitcoin, and if you are interested in trading, I will leave a Prime XBT tutorial up top. Just don't get crazy, don't over leverage, and never put in more than you're willing to lose. But you can use my promo code Savy50. Will get you 50% on top of whatever you deposit up to 1 Bitcoin. Savvy25 gets you 25% off your trading fees. You could trade gold, Forex, oil, silver, S&P, Dow, everything on that exchange. Definitely check it out. It is by far the most fair exchange I have found, and that's all I use anymore. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. I think you'll like it. There's also links below to that below in the description. But anyways, 9,600, is that going to fill? It's looking more and more likely like it is, but like I said, we'll take a look at the targets. We also, and that is on the daily, we also have this gap down here, and this is the 8-hour chart. But we also have a gap all the way down here at 7,600, right around 7,630. And then the scary one, we do have a gap. And I'm not saying it has to fill, guys, but we do have a gap. And like I said, stick around. We'll look at the more immediate targets. But we do have a gap all the way down at the 3570. If that does fill, I think it'll be a quick wick. But again, it doesn't have to fill. I'm just showing you guys what to be aware of, and I think you should be aware. Now we're going to take a look at Litecoin's run last year. This was Litecoin's hype for its halving, and you can see we made it up 578%. And if we go look at Bitcoin Ethereum now, where Ethereum is at, you can see when Litecoin did its pump, Ethereum did not pump as high, just like Litecoin is not pumping as high right here. Ethereum obviously doesn't have a halving, so it needed some hype. So what does it have? The 2.0 and DeFi. That is the hype, just like the ICO hype. But anyways, it does seem to have topped out. We'll see what happens. But if we take a measured move here, look at this as a W like people are talking about. I guess you could consider it an Adam and Eve, maybe. But anyways, yeah, it could be considered Adam and Eve. But the bullish case for this, guys, is it comes all the way up to 650 range. I don't think that's going to happen, but, you know, make up your own mind. Anyways, but as of right now, we're up 418%, not as high as Litecoin's, but you can see what Bitcoin is doing during this time. That was the Litecoin pump. This is the Ethereum pump. And I think this might be it for the pump, guys. We'll see what happens. We are above the 0.5 fib of this whole move right now, and that lies right at the 11,500. See if that holds. If we drop below that, most likely that'll become resistance. We could be coming all the way down to the 9,600 to close that gap, which is at the 0.382 fib. I've heard people start to say never below 10,000 again. We've heard that many times. We know what usually happens there. But also I want to point out in the daily here, the volume is declining still. So we had Litecoin's pump here. This is Ethereum's pump. Will it be next year to get Bitcoin's pump? Definitely possible, guys. It could start at the end of this year. It could be starting now. Like I said, we're going to take a look at all the scenarios here. Let's take a look at the monthly. Lower highs in the RSI, higher highs in the price, bearish divergence. And let's take a look at... All right. So let's take a look at the bullish case scenario. So if we look at the thick white trend lines here, looking at this as a triangle, we take a measured move from over here, the widest point, to where it broke. That gets us right around the 27,000. Like I said, it's definitely possible. We would most likely, I would expect to come down and at least retest this before continuing up. But obviously Bitcoin does what it wants, and it's up to you to decide what to do here. But I do want to point out, we have another target looking at these yellow lines here as a falling broadening wedge. From the point we broke out, that is 16,000. We also have the dotted trend line here that I had off of these wicks. We did get some resistance here, pop back above. We are above it now. And that trend line as of right now on the weekly lies about 11,325. I do want to show you another bullish sign on the weekly, and that being, do we come up and retest this top trend line here, making a triangle? A weekly close above this, guys, will be extremely bullish. Getting rejected here, and we could get up to, you know, the 12.5 area or whatever to touch this. I'm not quite sure where that's at. We'll have to watch it on the weekly RSI. But let's look at my wife's webpage, inkyourimage.com. Definitely check it out. There's a link below in the description. A lot of cool crypto stuff on here. If you have a favorite crypto or just a funny saying or whatever you want, hit her up in the contact. She can put whatever you want on any of this stuff. Another thing I want to point out is we could actually move this up here and say lower highs. That's all we've made since the all-time high over here. If we break the 13,800, say 14,000 level, obviously that would be extremely bullish, and we may just continue a huge rally from there. But first off, we have to get there. I do have these targets at 6,900 and 5,500 down here, and obviously the gap down here to be aware of. Nothing says we have to go down there, guys, but it is definitely possible. I've been looking at this forever. one more thing I want to point out, looking at it for the bulls out there, is, as you can see, everybody talks about the RSI being overbought when it's above the 70 area. Well, all of these were overbought, if that was true, but you can see what happens when we're overbought here. I'll zoom in a little bit too so you can see it. We're overbought here, and this is the bullish case. Although, guys, I'm still bearish here. For the bigger picture, it doesn't mean you can't trade longs and, you know, mix it up in the short term. But I'm just saying, when I say bearish, I just still think we're coming down to these lower levels. But that doesn't mean we can't pump more. And like I said, we'll be taking a look at the targets. So, but as you can see, each one of these, what happened was the RSI just reset while the price went sideways, and we had another push, and another push. This last push here, which is here, was straight across from this one. That's exaggerated divergence, and then obviously we see what happened there. Now, if we look over here, we had our first quote-unquote oversold, a bunch of sideways, or overbought, I'm sorry, a bunch of sideways action, and our next push up, which is here. Now, what happens here? Do we just continue sideways for another month and then get another push up? Definitely possible in the bullish case scenario. Bearish cases, we come down and break this trend line here. And the funny thing is, this yellow trend line off of these, we had a bunch of touches in here and a touch here. I think we had like 6 here, so that'd be 7 touches on the bottom, 1, 2, 3 on the top. And if we took a measured move, looking at that as a rising broadening wedge, depending on where we were to break that, if we did break it, if we came down to this area, it'd be around the $10,000 range again. And if that was to break, where does that measured move go? Right around the 3,600, so close to that gap down there. So just keep that in mind. And again, guys, I'm not saying it has to go down there. I'm just saying it's definitely something we should pay attention to. We had looked at this as a falling broadening wedge, and we took a measured move off the RSI here. And again, this is on the daily, and we did get up to our target for the RSI. Like I said, a lot is lying on what happens here. Is the RSI just resetting and we're going to move sideways for another push up, or was this the top here? Let's take another look. This is another look at the daily, same thing. And this is looking, take a look at this as, here's the bullish case that everybody seems to be quite fond of. Let me get where's my brush? There it is. All right, so looking at this as a left shoulder head and right shoulder, which I don't like that left shoulder or right shoulder at all. But if we did look at it that, and we did a measured move, you would measure the length from the neckline to the tip down at the bottom of the head there, and then up would be around $17,000. So there's your bullish case. We also have, and we'll zoom in a little bit here in a minute, but we also have where we broke down here. Looking at this as a rising broadening wedge, we broke down, came up, almost tested it for support or for resistance. We may do that again in the bullish case, and that bringing the weekly RSI up to touch the trend line that I showed you in the beginning. Look at the RSI here. We have topped out obviously here, but again, pay attention to what happened over here on these overbought. I hate when people say that. It doesn't mean overbought. It just means there was a lot of pressure in the market there, a lot of action. And then when it dies down, the sideways action comes and whatever. So that's the bullish case. Let's take a look at our Fibonacci retracements from the swing low to the swing high. Obviously we have our support here at 10,600. If that breaks, our next support is around 10,180, which is the 0.236 fib. And then we have the 0.382 at $8,900, $9,000 range. After that, if that was not to hold, 0.5 fib at 79.80. And then we have our 69 target, which is the 0.65 fib. This is the golden pocket zone. The 0.65 fib lies around 67.30. 0.618 is around 69.90. And if that wasn't to hold, we have a 0.7 5886 fib down here for retracement at 55. And then we have our gap, which again, guys, I'm not saying these have to happen. These are what to look for if we continue down. These are targets. Again, make up your own mind, especially if you're trading this. Long term, I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I think we have some good years ahead, but I'm just not convinced of the bull run starting right now. Let's look at the 4 hour. All right, so taking a look at the 4 hour, we have some other ways I want to look at this here. So if we do come up to retest the bottom of this pink line, which I was talking about, the rising broadening wedge, could get us up to 12,500 to 12,700, and that may get that weekly RSI up to touch the top of that. So this would be the highest I'd be looking for. A break of that, of course, I'm dead wrong, but we'll see what happens. Another thing I'm looking at is this being a possible, zoom in so you can see it, possible triangle here. A descending triangle is possible. I just went off of these wicks down here, the 2 wicks up top. Of course, this isn't validated yet in any way, shape, or form. But if it does play out, and if it plays out something like this, obviously we came down, up, and then break down. Let's take a measured move of where that would get us. Whoops. We measure to the widest point, bring it down, and again, we don't know where it would break, but what's that lead us to? About 8,800, and if you guys remember 8,800, we have visited that and got stuck around there many times. So there is some confluency there, but like I said, we could get this one more push up here, but we did close the gap. There's a good chance we don't get another push up, guys. Let's take a measured move looking at this. Actually, let's go to the smaller time frames right after we look at the RSI. All right, so looking at the RSI, you can see the rising channel here, and I've drawn in what looks to be a falling broadening wedge. Could get another touch up here, which would be around that 12.5, 12.7 range. But we are getting resistance here off this trend line. And if we are topped out here, what this is most likely going to look like is a falling wedge. Could come all the way down to test the bottom of this. I'd be watching the yellow trend line off of all these bottoms here. If we break that, we could be coming all the way back down into this area, which would be a huge drop. Otherwise, we break up here and come up and retest the top, which would be extremely bullish. I'm not going to tell you how to think, but I am telling you my opinion. All right, now this is where it gets kind of interesting. I've taken a Fibonacci retracement from this swing low where we had our big wick down to the 10.5 range up to here, and looking at this Fibonacci retracement right now, as you can see, yesterday I was talking about closing the gap at 11,795. We got up to 11,817 on the Coinbase chart, which is the 0.786 fib. If that's it, you know, we could have some way further down to go. Now, what I want to look at here, if you want to try to explain all of this, off of these wicks here, I have a trend line up here, dotted yellow trend line. You can see it down here. I've excluded this wick, but if you look, we have 1, 2, 3 touches down here, 2 up top, looking like a broadening wedge in here. But within that, we have a rising channel in blue. There also, if we look in there close, we can see possible inverse head and shoulders forming. If that's the case, it would be the same measurement as measuring this as a rising channel. But depending on where we break, you know, if we broke out sometime today, early tomorrow, 10.5 to 12,500 is the target if we were to break out today, which lines up with, go over here a little ways. We're on the 1 hour, so it's going to take a second. But if we go over into here, right here, you can see is 12.4, 12.5 range, a lot of confluence in there. So that is the possibility if we get that next leg up. Now let's look at if we came up to test the top of this looking at it as a broadening wedge. Let me move this over. That could be as high as 12,700. And if we break down from here, this is our bullish case scenario here, and we would have to obviously break this high over here at 11,800 on the Coinbase chart. Breaking down from here, we have this trend line I have left here. Even though we broke above it, I still believe it will have some support here. But if we break down to this area, would be the bottom of the rising channel in blue, and also the top of this trend line here, and that's all going to meet up. Even this long-term trend line, all that's going to meet up right here around 11,400, 11,350 to 11,400. I am going to put a little target in that area. Oh, dang it. And yeah, so that's going to lie right around the 11,370. If that breaks the next measurement, and I'm sorry if these lines are messy, guys. I'm just trying to explain to you what I'm seeing. If we do break down from this rising channel, like I said, this area 11,370 is probably going to give us some support. But if that was to break, we could be looking down towards the 10,776 range, which would line up perfectly with this long-term old support line. If we break it, would become new resistance. Let's take a look at the measured move. If that would be also breaking this trend line here. Looking at this as a rising broadening wedge, and if we take a measured move of that, if we were to break down from this area, could get us all the way down to, look at that, the 9,600 to close that gap. It does really look like we're most likely going to come close this gap, guys. But again, we could get up to the 12.5, 12.7 first, so don't be surprised if that happens. Keep an eye on the charts. We also have a much lower target down here, the 8,600, which would actually be probably closer to 8,800 in my opinion. But that's looking at, if we go off this top trend line here, bring this all the way down to the bottom. And if we were to break there, that gets us to 8,600, 86 to 8,800. I know a lot of people are extremely bullish here. Don't think that's going to happen. Just be cautious, guys. You know, this could be the beginning of the bull run, like I said. These are my higher targets if we do break out of this rising channel here, 12.5 to 12.7. And if we can't, we break through the bottom of this. These lower targets are still in effect. Just be careful out there, guys. Thanks for watching the channel. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the CryptoSavy logo above my head. Smash that like button, hit the thumbs up, and leave your comments down below. That will get you entered to win the Kobo Vault Generation 2 hard wallet giveaway. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'm out.